So in this video, I'm going to talk about the food that we ate on Big Island. Since we were staying in condos for, well, at least the first part of our experience was a condo with a full kitchen, we of course wanted to buy our food. The best place to shop for food on Big Island is the Costco, which is just south, I believe, of the airport. And so shortly after we picked up our rental car, we drove right to Costco. We're members, so we were happy to get eventually get our gas there, but initially to buy our food, especially breakfast food, some trail mix for our hikes, and if there were a few evenings when we would just make ourselves some ahi tuna and sit out on our lanai and watch the beautiful surf and try to watch the sunsets, which weren't as glorious as normal because of all the fog. So we did have one night where we had an absolutely stunning sunset, and that was at a restaurant in Kona Town, in Kailua Village. But nonetheless, if you want to save on the cost of food, which is prohibitive on the Big Island because so much of it is shipped in, Costco is the place to go. And so all of our breakfasts were eaten at our condo and at the other places that we stayed. We're trying to be vegan, so we tried to have the yogurt alternative for our breakfast mixed in with some really good grains and lots of fruit, etc. But nonetheless, the lanai in our first Airbnb condo was wonderful for eating, and we would just sit and enjoy a glass of wine each, along with some pretty healthy food that we bought at Costco. We also did supplement some of our food with something we found at Target as well. But Target was in Kailua Village, and so that was pretty helpful. But by and large, when we ate in the Kona Town area, we would walk in from our condo to, for instance, Huggo's, which is close to the center of action in Kona Town. We wanted to eat at the restaurant, which had amazing seating right along the coast there, and the rocks are right there. Lava rocks, of course, because the island is almost all lava rocks, but the surf was beating against the rocks. It was pretty great. However, the night we stopped in, it was quite crowded. It was the weekend, so we ended up going into their bar area. But we had a wonderful experience because we found a table in their bar area with a wonderful view of the water, the bay, and the sun was setting. We ordered some drinks and we had some of the happy hour food as the sun was setting, and we were just delighted with the whole experience because it was stunning. That evening, the sun was doing a pretty good job of showing its power, and we just enjoyed the display that Mother Nature was putting on for us. We did eat at a few other restaurants on other, afternoons or evenings, but they weren't, to us, they weren't very interesting, so I won't really mention them. The restaurants that we liked in other parts of the island were in Hilo. We ate at what's called Pineapples, and that's one block off the main drag in Old Hilo town. That's, got really good healthy salads and interesting wines and so on. It's pretty pricey, but good atmosphere and very popular, I guess, with locals and with tourists. So we've eaten there a couple times on this trip. And then we also found our way to a wonderful restaurant at Hilo Bay. It's right near the Queen Liliuokalani Park, which is a park that was built in an area where a tsunami in 1964 destroyed an entire Japanese community. As a result of that tsunami, the folks decided not to rebuild, instead to make it into a park. So it's a a Japanese themed park. There are a bunch of banyan trees planted along the pathway, and I think they were planted mostly in the 1930s by celebrities like Babe Ruth and various movie stars and politicians of the day. But nonetheless, we enjoyed the park quite a bit. We walked on the wide pathways. There's a view of the bay from the park. Lots of little Japanese lanterns, stone lanterns, some bridges, structures that are pretty well maintained, and of course huge banyan trees, and one in particular that kind of is the center of that park. So after the park, we went over to the Hilo Bay Cafe. We arrived in late afternoon, so we had their lunch menu, and we were given wonderful seats on the second level, and were able to watch the fishermen with their nets trying to gather fish in the bay. We watched all the mongooses and the mynah birds and their competition for seeds and grasses, I guess. I think I had crab cakes, and my husband had some sushi with some wine, and we just enjoyed that venue. We had fairly good weather while we were in Hilo. It was usually partly cloudy, but Hilo Bay Cafe does a really class act. They are a class act. Their food is good, the service is great, wonderful setting. It's a fairly new structure. We did try another restaurant that looked like it was really popular when we drove by. That was called The Pond, and we did not like the food because it was kind of old style, very greasy, 1950s breaded, shrimp and that type thing. So wasn't interesting to us. But from our seat, which was next to a structure, a pond that was indeed constructed out of lava rocks and so on, there were a bunch of children who were diving into the pond, and most of the kids were probably young teenagers, 13, 14, 16 years old, and they were having a great time doing backflips and just enjoying each other's company. So that was rather delightful. The food is not something I'd recommend, and I think it was overpriced as well. But nonetheless, those are some of the restaurants that we visited. If you're going to stay in a condominium, I would suggest trying to get most of your fresh fish and fruits and vegetables at that Costco and enjoy your times on the lanai and so on. But that's how we pretty much chose to organize our time, our lives. We didn't want to spend a lot of money on overpriced food, and we live in an area in California where we have access to really amazing restaurants, so we weren't looking for that kind of dining experience in Hawaii. We just wanted to appreciate more of natural Hawaii and appreciate maybe how the locals would live in their own homes or own little apartments. And so that's what we did. We did eat some in the Waikoloa resort area. We actually found a little food court in the Queens Marketplace near the film theaters, which are very nice. They're the newer theaters with the big recliner seats, and you can order food there. But we went to the food court, and we found a great little place called Lemongrass that did some pad thai, which we enjoy. So I had pad thai with tofu. My husband had it with shrimp. That was quite pleasant. We realized as we were eating that with so much food, it would have been enough to order one pad thai dinner and would have fed both of us easily. So we had a takeout box that we were able to take home with us. However, that was a lot of fun. We ate there a couple of times. We had the boba boba drink, which we enjoyed. And then another evening, we just went to Macaroni Grill, had some salads, and kind of enjoyed watching the locals celebrate what they were celebrating, birthdays, etc. When we were at the various condos and other Airbnb locations, were able to use the boogie boards, the snorkel masks, the snorkels, other kinds of beach chairs and umbrellas that the owners left us, and we very much appreciated that, especially at the condominium. So that made a big difference. We saved on the rental of those items as well. And that's pretty much my advice if you're going the Airbnb route and maybe want to really just savor the activities over food and get some hiking in as well. So that's how we organized our trip to Big Island this time around, and I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you're able to benefit from some of my advice. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.